I'm on the train to Baldock in the declassified first class, where I have 5 walks planned that either start or finish at the station. It's a real hub, a real place to start an adventure, and I've been meaning to do one of these walks for quite a while, so it's about time that I finally visit Baldock. When I started the Icknield Way long distance walk a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned how sometimes I liked to take inspiration from other long distance paths or just do random sections of some. And that is the intention today. As soon as you make your way down from the station, you already get a teaser for what we're going to be walking today, the Icknield Way. But what is that? So the Icknield Way might just be a road near to Baldock station, but it is also the long distance footpath that we are walking today. I believe the path itself runs through Baldock's High Street, but because I have now 4 other walks planned in this area, I thought I'd visit the town centre another day and instead get down to the Icknield Way by taking this lovely field path here. I'm passing over the A505 here, and it's important that I mention this, and you're going to understand why later. Well, if I didn't fancy walking this footpath, I could go in here to a car boot sale. I don't remember the last time I came across a car boot sale. Well, I've found my first indication that I am on the Icknield Way trail now. This Neolithic axe is what I'm going to have to be looking out for today to direct me on my walk. This is intriguing. Seems I've come across some sort of abandoned farm here. I can actually go and have a look. It's reminding me of an abandoned farm that I came across in the South Downs once. How it's just left here and it's crumbling away and no one really cares about it. It's in the middle of nowhere. So what is the Icknield Way then? Well, it is a 110-mile path that begins at Icknield Beacon, one of the most notable Chiltern Hills. There's a brilliant walk you can do up from Tring Station to the summit where the Icknield Way begins, and there's some beautiful surroundings that you get whilst you're up there. The Icknield Way claims to be the oldest road in Britain. It's a prehistoric route established even before the Romans came and ran a lot further than the 110 miles the pathway does. The path nowadays ends near to Thetford, but it did run a lot further up towards the Norfolk coast. The Ridgeway, another long distance footpath, ends at Icknield Beacon, where the Icknield Way begins, and part of the old road does also follow the Ridgeway route. You might think therefore that I am on the old road here, but this isn't an old A3 situation in the Devil's Punch Bowl which we saw on the Icknield Way walk. This was never the road. The alignment of the old Icknield Way road is actually used by a modern road, the A505, and this section of the walk that we're doing today between Baldock and Royston, the A505 runs between the two. So the Icknield Way path, instead of taking us several miles along a busy road, takes us through some nice countryside and field paths instead, which is much better. Straight across the field, we're turning left, through the gate we go. Well, I was actually not supposed to go through that gate. I was meant to turn before it. I ended up in there and I had to clamber my way over that gate, but I'm back on the path. We're crossing over the road. We're heading onwards. There's a cluster of footpaths at that gate, so it gets a little bit confusing even with directional signposts, so it's always worth, when you get up to a junction on a footpath, double check just to make sure you're taking the right one. This is a great path to be taking, kind of exactly what I was expecting and looking forward to today. And you've got some nice views as well of Baldock back down there in the valley. I feel there's a bit of a theme starting to appear on this walk, and that is coming across old farms. This is a huge old building. This is nuts. This is so unexpected. I thought these were seats then for a minute. I genuinely thought they were chairs. Corrugated iron, to me, has always felt like the weakest thing to build something out of. It always just kind of crumbles away. I'm entering the village of Wallington. It's an interesting placement of the letter N there in June. Wallington Village was the home of famous author George Orwell, and this was the house he lived in from 1936 to 1940. It's a beautifully kept old property. I'm not actually sure if the Icknield Way brings you to the location of his house. It seems to have turned off beforehand, but I wanted to come and check it out. I've never actually read his most famous book, 1984, not even in school, surprisingly. I've always wanted to, though. I know the premise of it. Perhaps this is the prompt I need to actually get around to reading it. So it does indeed look like the Icknield Way doesn't go to George Orwell's house. It goes up there instead towards the church. But we are back en route, and I have noticed that not only are we by the Icknield Way, but there's the Hertfordshire Way long distance footpath too. Wallington was the first of a few villages we'll see on our walk today, Sandon being the next one. Genuinely having a face off with cows right now. I don't think they want me crossing their field. Oh no, they're coming towards me. No, no, no. Look, I'm just going to walk on the edge of your field. Okay, don't mind me. Right? We're friends here. Please don't come after me. It's always really worrying having to cross over a field when there's cattle. Why are you walking towards me? Can you not do this, please? If you're running to block off the gate, I'm going to be so angry. Oh, you literally just did what I... These lot genuinely hate me. They're just staring me down. I climbed over the barbed wire and I'm just gonna go around through the farm. Well, this is much more like it. I've made it around safely. I've got some more fields to cross over now. Hopefully, there won't be any cows in these ones. Just passing around the top of a little settlement known as Red Hill. There's a possibility I might be in another Red Hill soon. Welcome to Sandon Estate. Deer walkers, pedestrian gates have been left open, and on 2 occasions deer have managed to get into the enclosures. Alright, so this is a new gate they've installed to stop that from happening. Be great to see some deer. Always remember, if you're out walking, close the gates behind you. Interesting how the Icknield Way is shown in 2 different ways here. So, no deer unfortunately, but we are now passing through another little settlement known as Row Green. Been quite lucky so far with the pathways not being flooded or muddy, despite the fact there was a lot of rain a couple of days ago, but this one is just completely soaked through. So I'm going to go around on the road instead. Luckily it's not a long diversion at all and it's nice and quiet. Because I went around on the road, I got to see the Sandon Saddlery Company. It's a nice old building. It's for sale right now. I've made it down into Sandon itself now, and it's really nice. You've got this pond here, you've got an old red telephone box which has been turned into a defibrillator, and a George VI post box as well. Ah, Buntingford's on there. That's where I went to in my first video. Baldock is 7.5 miles behind me, Royston is 5.5 miles ahead. Thurfield is a village we'll also come across later. Sandon even has a village sign, which I like. Mentioned in the Doomsday Book, it seems, in 1086. I see the church depicted on there. I do see it in the background, so I am thinking to myself that could be a good spot for a lunch break. So I did take a break, had the sandwich in my bag by this unusual looking church here. Usually you would just have the tower, but you have this kind of angled brick part to it, which I'm suspecting maybe is helping support the tower and was built at a later stage. That would make sense to me. Down from the church, where the Icknield Way goes, the graveyard continues, but it's really overgrown. Like, you wouldn't even be able to access some of these graves. That's quite sad, really. I've just kind of noticed how the Icknield Way usually has both directions shown, but the Hertfordshire Way only usually has one. But in the other direction, it just gets a sticker instead. This might actually be the split between the Icknield Way and the Hertfordshire Way, but this is a little bit confusing because there's an axe waypoint pointing to the left, but then there's also one saying to go straight along with the Hertfordshire Way. I know to turn left here. I'd get a clearer shot if there wasn't so many stinging nettles and brambles in the way. Funnily enough, my plotted route doesn't come here. I was just following the signs for the Icknield Way, as I would, because I know that's the walk I'm doing today. But then I realised that I'd come off of the route I plotted. Maybe I had done some sort of shortcut, because this is quite a diversionary route around. I know that at points along the Icknield Way it does split, but I think that's because it's kind of more of a, this way is for people, this way is like a bridle way for horses. It doesn't seem like, though, on the map that that's the case here. So I don't know why there's a split, that's a little bit odd. But it does seem like we've come off of the Hertfordshire Way. We've kind of done a 2-in-1 today, following 2 different long-distance footpaths. That's a walk I've never really looked at before, but I always seem to find myself on when I do walks up in Hertfordshire. It's similar to the London Loop. It's a circular one around the county. I've always enjoyed my walks up in Hertfordshire. It's quite quick and easy for me to come up here and access, and they've always kind of stuck in my mind. I feel like I've done quite a wide variety of walks so far this year out of London, but I haven't yet done one out in Hertfordshire. I have been in Hertfordshire, but that was to ride old buses, one of which did actually bring me up to Buntingford. So I've really been enjoying so far today, just being out in the countryside and the fields of Hertfordshire. Okay, geez, that's a lot of footpaths. I'm still on the Hertfordshire Way. That's pointing in the direction of my plotted walk, which has confused me because I've seen signs for it the entire time on my diversionary route. Also, the Icknield Way signs at the bottom, that one pointing to the right really should be on this side, because this is the direction you're coming from if you're following the Icknield Way. You have to come this side to know that you're meant to turn. To make everything more confusing, my plotted route is shown on OS maps, but isn't on Strava. And the actual route that I took is shown on Strava, but not shown on OS maps. Why have they made it even more confusing? But by looking at Strava, I noticed that here is the River Rib, which is the same river that we came across when we were in Buntingford. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm still on the Icknield Way. I'm out for the day anyways, so I might as well see just as much as I possibly can. It will be a longer walk than anticipated, but I'm okay with that. And we've got to be by the River Rib, which is unexpected. Won't be for long though, that will start to turn right soon towards Buntingford. we'll turn left and head towards Royston. It's a tiny little tucked away nature reserve area here known as Hawkins Wood, but it's closed at the moment. Many trees in the area have suffered from ash dieback, but the plank of wood they've put across it looks quite old. How long has this exactly been closed for? The footpath signs have done the same thing here. I'm walking up, I'm seeing the Icknield Way, but the route I need to go is on the wrong side. For a second there, I didn't know that I was meant to turn left. I've made it into the village of Thurfield now. There's no village sign, but there is what was missing in Sandon, a pub, the Fox and Duck. I feel what I do is quite niche. I'm genuinely surprised sometimes that I don't see anybody else out on the footpaths that I'm walking, but in this area I'm not surprised because they have the pub. There's a nice area to sit outside there on the green, and I sat opposite for 10 minutes and it was just really nice and peaceful listening to the birds. But I got another stint of field walking now, kind of one long path all the way up to Thurfield Heath, and I'm not really expecting to see anyone. Wow, seriously impressed with the view here. I think that's the nicest we've had all day. If I knew about this, I would have come to sit here rather than back at the green. I'd love to climb to the top of that. How do they even layer this? It's huge. It's also really impressive. I'm so tempted to go into the middle just because it's open. I can't even see the end. Oh my god. No, it's fallen down in the middle. Wow. It's deafeningly silent in here. Genuinely, like, my ears are slightly ringing because there's no sound at all. It's so eerie. It's just hay, but if it did fall, like, I am dead. I'm so surprised by how beautiful this section has been. It's been my favourite part of the walk so far. Well, hey, I've made it. Thurfield Heath. And I'm back on the Hertfordshire way again. It's taken a different route to me, I guess. Oh, already it's turning off of my path again. Well, I knew that when I made it here, I would be nearing the end of my walk. I think the Icknield Way here cuts straight across the heath to get to the road to turn right along it, but I might as well just cut across the heath myself to kind of limit my road walking. There was actually a few people on that footpath from Thurfield, which I was surprised by, but it's good to see that there are other people out walking. So I am now on, I believe, the alignment of the old Icknield Way prehistoric road. The A505 kind of skirts up around the northern edge of Royston, and this road connects straight through the middle of the town. I believe as well it did act as some sort of boundary between the northern and southern parts of Royston. 50p book of stamps. Insert one 50p coin, pull knob, then release to obtain book. It's a relic of the past. I did wonder why the Jolly Posty pub here had that, but this is, I mean, the name even kind of suggests it, doesn't it? It is an old post office. There's a brilliant heritage board here all about Royston. I should have realised really where the name comes from. The Royce Stone. It even mentions the Icknield Way there, which is just over there. So the Royce Stone here marks the location of an old cross, which used to be where the prehistoric road of the Icknield Way and Roman Ermine Street used to pass. Really is kind of the heart of Royston, and is a good point to leave the Icknield Way. I'd like to come back here one day though and explore Royston a little bit more and walk another section of the Icknield Way. For now though, I'm just going to head up the high street to the station. Well, Royston is surprisingly full of heritage. This is an old hunting lodge of King James I. Well, considering I thought today's walk was just going to be a very simple countryside walk, that's really exceeded my expectations, especially Royston right at the end. And because I haven't used any of the stations between Letchworth and Cambridge until today, I have an incentive to come back and visit some of the other ones and do other walks in this area, which I'm now really looking forward to. Seems they've just stopped using an old footbridge because a new one has been installed, and this has lifts, bringing step-free access to the station, which is great. My ticket, by the way, had Royston in brackets Herts written on it, referencing that it is in Hertfordshire, but that's insinuating that there's another Royston station somewhere in the country, which there isn't. There used to be, though, in South Yorkshire up until 1968. For now, though, this is where my journey ends. Well, I'm getting a train home. This is where my walk ends.
This is Baldock. This train is the service to London King's Cross.
If someone didn't point out a plant to me on the footpath, I would have got better footage of World War III approaching.